Caitlin Clark has changed the game. She changed it in college and in the WNBA. But what was it about Caitlin that has just garnered so much attention and changed things the way that she has?
You know, Rhiannon, obviously she's a basketball player, clearly, as you can see, but she's also an entertainer.
This league is full of drama, absolute drama. Now, we knew when Christine Brennan, the journalist who wrote the upcoming Caitlin Clark book, the stories emerging from this book is going to light the league on fire.
A book just hit #1 on Amazon, and it might have just blown the lid off the WNBA's biggest secret. It wasn't written by Caitlin Clark. She didn't promote it, didn't sit for an interview, and didn't even give her approval. And yet, it's all about her. Christine Brennan's unauthorized tell-all about Clark's first year in the league isn't just selling out everywhere, it's making league execs panic. Because what was supposed to be a celebration of a record-breaking rookie season has turned into a full-blown exposé on how unprepared, disorganized, and hostile the WNBA was when its greatest opportunity came knocking.
And it seems like every story or excerpt or interview that Christine does turns up the heat a little bit more. Lack of preparation from the league level to the players to, even logistically. This league was not ready for this phenomenon to take over.
And the craziest part? The damage might already be done. Christine Brennan didn't pull punches. She didn't write a feel-good story for casual fans. She wrote a brutal truth bomb that's now flying off the shelves, faster than Caitlin's logo threes ever went viral. Within 24 hours of release, Brennan's book hit the top of Amazon's bestseller list, shocking the sports world and humiliating league officials. What should have been a PR dream for the WNBA, a book highlighting their breakout superstar, instead turned into a damning report on every mistake they made. From the front office to the locker room, nobody came out looking good. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The league is in the middle of its most-watched season ever, thanks to Clark. But now, they're stuck trying to spin headlines they never wanted to see. Let's be clear, this wasn't a puff piece. Brennan is a decorated journalist who's covered 21 Olympic Games and written 7 books. She doesn't do fluff. And she didn't need Clark's permission to tell this story. She just needed the truth. And according to her, there was plenty of it. She followed Clark's rookie year for 6 straight weeks, interviewed dozens of sources, and compiled a story that reads less like a biography and more like a crime scene investigation. It covers everything from boardroom blunders to locker room resentment. It doesn't just ask why the WNBA was unprepared. It shows you exactly how bad the leadership really was. Caitlin Clark never sat down for a one-on-one, but the book exploded anyway. Why? Because people are starving for the truth about what really happened during Caitlin Clark's rise and how her own league tried to silence it. If there's one sentence in the entire book that should terrify WNBA leadership, it's this: do you know how big this is going to be? That's what Brennan asked a top league official the day after Clark declared for the draft. And their answer? This should be the biggest thing since Maya Moore. That's when Brennan realized they had no idea. Caitlin Clark wasn't Maya Moore. She wasn't another elite draft pick. She was a once-in-a-generation phenom who had already shattered every college record, rewired television ratings, and put women's sports into the mainstream spotlight. And somehow, the people in charge thought they were just getting another star. Instead, they got a cultural earthquake. And they didn't have a single plan in place. No marketing strategy, no protection policies, no arena expansions, no media blueprint. They had months to prepare. They did nothing. And now the receipts are out there for everyone to read. If the front office failed Caitlin, the locker room wasn't much better. Brennan's book goes deep into the resentment, jealousy, and flat-out hostility Clark faced from fellow players. The kind you don't see in highlight reels, but feel in every shove and cheap shot. Remember Kennedy Carter's body check, Marina Mabry's cold shoulders, DJ Carrington's public meltdown. Brennan's sources say it wasn't just random aggression. It was part of a toxic culture where Clark's success triggered more bitterness than celebration. One player allegedly flipped her wig over a non-eye gouge incident. Others used interviews to downplay Clark's achievements. And behind the scenes, the so-called sisterhood of the WNBA started to fracture. Brennan doesn't say every player hated her, but she does expose how little support Clark got from veterans, even as she lifted the entire league's relevance on her back. And worst of all, the league let it happen.
One of the book's most jaw-dropping revelations, the 2024 Olympic snub. Caitlin Clark was left off the Team USA roster, and the fallout was nuclear. Brennan's reporting reveals how USA Basketball fumbled its biggest marketing opportunity in years. The decision-makers were more worried about negative reactions online than maximizing global exposure. One insider admitted they didn't want to deal with critical posts on X or Facebook, so they just left Clark home. And the numbers don't lie. The gold medal game without her, just 7.8 million viewers, the worst since 2008. Even women's soccer outdrew them. Meanwhile, social media exploded with outrage. Sponsors quietly backed away. Fans were furious, and it all could have been avoided. Now, even selection committee member Dawn Staley is backtracking, saying Clark would be a top consideration if they had a redo. Too late. That one decision cost the league millions and exposed just how out of touch the old guard really is.
The WNBA thought they were getting a solid local draw. What they got was an international movement. Brennan's book highlights fans flying in from Mexico, Hawaii, and across Europe, all just to see one person play. In Las Vegas, the Aces had to move their game to T-Mobile Arena to handle the Clark crowd. The Mystics gave up their 4,200-seat arena and booked the 20,000-seat Capital One. Ticket prices spiked when she played, then dropped 70% overnight when she got hurt. Let that sink in. The entire economy of the WNBA was suddenly tethered to one rookie's health. These aren't WNBA fans, these are Clark fans. They don't care who else is playing, they came for her. They bought the jerseys, they booked the flights, they made the noise. And Brennan's book makes it crystal clear. The WNBA doesn't know what to do with that kind of star power. Brennan's most brutal truth bomb? Clark is making $40 million a year, and only $76,000 of that comes from the WNBA. Let that number sit. She's backed by Nike, Wilson, Gatorade, global brands with deeper pockets than the entire league combined. And the book teases something wild. If Caitlin Clark left and started her own league, the sponsors would follow fast. Nike could bankroll it. TV deals would fall into place. The arenas would sell out. It's not just possible, it's terrifyingly doable. That's the power dynamic Brennan reveals. Clark doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs her, and that's making league officials sweat. The commissioner can barely say her name in interviews without pivoting to someone else, but the public isn't confused. The numbers are too loud to ignore. Behind the scenes, Brennan paints a picture of chaos, league executives scrambling to spin Clark's popularity into something they can control. But it's too late. They had no strategy for media, no protection on the court, no long-term plan to ride this wave. Clark got targeted with cheap shots weekly, referees barely called anything, and the league did next to nothing to stop it. Brennan even quotes a WNBA official who said, "Our players don't know what real media coverage is." But the real issue wasn't media, it was incompetence. The people in charge never imagined one player could shift the balance of power this drastically. Now they're playing catch-up and failing badly. The book doesn't just point fingers, it shows receipts. Viewer numbers, attendance drops, ratings collapse when Clark's not on the court. One injury nearly derailed the entire season. That's how fragile the league's success really is. Christine Brennan didn't just write a book, she dropped a bomb. And now fans, journalists, and sponsors are seeing the WNBA for what it is, a league that got handed a golden goose and nearly ran it off the court. Caitlin Clark is more than a player. She's a cultural force, an economic machine, a symbol of something the WNBA wasn't ready for: dominance. Brennan's book exposes every missed opportunity, every jealous cheap shot, and every exec who looked the other way. And maybe the most terrifying idea of all, if Clark ever leaves, so does everything they built. The book ends with a warning. One day, she might just walk away and take her billion-dollar empire with her. And the league? They'll only have themselves to blame. If this shocked you, hit that like button, drop a comment, and make sure you're subscribed, because this story, it's only just beginning.